Hi friends and everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I'm happy to meet you again. In this video, it's going to be a small project. Yeah, a small project. We're not going to waste much time here, okay? So this is going to be a small project and that's going to be a mini project. Okay, so we're going to build a URL shortener application using .NET 9 with a Blazor application, and the type of rendering that we're going to be using here is SSR. We're going to be using server side rendering or interactive render mode. Okay, so that is what we're going to be using to create this simple small application. Now, what is URL shortener? It's an application that shortens or make a lengthy URL short and simple. Why is it important to create this app, or why is it important to actually use URL shortener? Actually, a long link becomes hard for you to share. If you want to share a link, you want it to be short. Lengthy one is complicated at times. It takes the whole space that you want to pass a message on. So it makes it simple, look smaller, and also easy to share. Aside from that, it looks good as well, so that you do not include or you do not have an issues with escape strings and all sort of links or characters which are used to form links. So let's see how we can do that. I've already prepared this project already. As you know, before we build any project, I do prepare something to test and see the workflow and all sorts before we start building. Yes, I have it. So I want to show you what you're going to be doing. Building UI is quite cumbersome, and you know that it takes much time to build that. And with free template over there, we can just go in there and grab some portion of them and integrate it. And that is what I have also done in this project. So which template did I use? Let's see, I have a template here from this, my favorite link. That is where I do get all my free CSS template. So I was going through it and checking which template is suitable for this, and actually I only want just an interface, okay, because we need to build everything at the back end. And so I just want to have a user-friendly, a nice interface, which is catchy. So I came across this one, and that is the name. Maybe I'll put the link in the video description, so don't worry, you can just check the description and I also click on that link and get it. Click on download and now it is free. You can just extract it and open it using any text editor like Sublime or Notepad or any other text editor. Okay, so we want to use this interface. You can see that from here we're going to modify what you see, but I maintain the color, the background image and stuff. So maybe you can modify this, just tutorial, so you can modify that. If you know what you're doing, you can do that. Okay, so let me show you how I did this. I have it already set up, very simple one. Let me hit run and show you. Now, while this is building and running, I use SQLite because it's a simple application, so we need not to be using SQL Server, whereby the server will be sitting somewhere. And yeah, so you want to use an SQLite for this. But well, if you want to use an SQL Server, it's just simple. Changing the connection string is the same thing and it's going to work. Okay, so nothing much. So this, the app, as you can see from here, I told you that I did not change the color and now the image, isn't it? Okay, but you see I have modified some stuff in here. Now I have a URL shortener, and all these buttons, these links, I haven't touched them because we are working on URL shortener. And as for this, if you want to go beyond this, if you want to add authentication, if you want to add some components, you can just link them and I'll specify them here. If you want to add search function, yeah, you can also do it. Okay, for now I did not touch this because these are not part of the core thing that you want to handle here. Okay, so provide your long URL and I click on this button and it gets you the short version of that. That's quite simple. Now in that too, I have integrated a copy and paste, so you can copy it from here, then paste it and go your way. That's amazing. Okay, so if I click on this, nothing happened because I did not show any message. If you click on this without specifying a value or a link to this. But let's say if I specify a link here, Let's go through the template that we created. Oh, not created, the one that we're going to download. Now with this, I can just right click on this and now get any link address, right? Now if I open this over here and I'll paste what I have, check it out. There's a link, right? If I click on this, it's going to navigate to this page, isn't it? Now let's say well, that link is lengthy, so let's paste it here. There's a link, as you can see from here is a PHP, and that is a link. Now I need not to provide anything here. All that I need to do here is to click on this. But if I click on copy this, you see nothing to copy. There's nothing here. If I click on shorten URL, we wait and oh, amazing, we have it. So you can see that we are having a URL from application, our address. Then we have these random numbers attached to. Then what it does here is going to be kept in the database alongside with this link. So I can just grab this link over here. Now check it out. Oh, I need not to copy this manually. Click on this. So I'm going to click on this and you can see copy it, right? Now just open a new one and I'll paste it. See, I'll paste it here and then hit on enter. And now let's see with this link, you see it has opened to the page. What it does it, now check it up here. From database, if I refresh this, you can see there is a link that we copied. Now this link and another is a code. So based on the code, it comes to database and now search for the link and I return. Now when returning, it needs to redirect this because we have integrated a minimal API, which will redirect this, the request to a link, and that will be opening an address. That's amazing. And that's what the application is doing. You see, so now that you have understood what you're going to build, now let's start. So I'm going to close everything because we want to build everything from scratch. But for our template, we're going to integrate them. We're going to download and integrate it. So try to download that, open it, and let's see how we're going to work with this. All right, so I'm going to create a new project. So I'll click on the file and new, and I'm going to choose project. Within projects, since we are building with Blazor web app, we need to choose web app, and I'm going to give it a name of demo. Then maybe I'm going to say that Blazor SSR URL shortener. Yes, that is the name. Now I'm click on next, and when you come here, that is what matters most. From the interactive render mode, make sure you choose server because that is what we are using. Well, you can decide to go in for WebAssembly auto. You can do that, but to follow what I'm doing, I think you must go for the server render mode. And you know the framework here, it is .NET 9 because that is what we are using here. So once you have the project created, and we need to install some packages, this is the first step that we need to tackle. So right click on dependencies and let's get these packages installed. What are the packages that we need? We need EF Core. So we need EF Core as a package. So from that, we need SQLite for our database, which is a stable version of 9.0. Since you're using .NET 9, you must go in for the same version. Then we need to get an SQLite. Can we get it here? Okay, we need tools, so make sure you install that too. The next thing that we're going to do after installing the tools is go for the SQLite server. Yeah, so after we are done with that, then I have a package. That's what we're going to be using to copy. You know, I've updated this package. I did it just now, and that is a clipboard. So it allows you to copy item to clipboard and also read item from clipboard, right? But I integrated only the copied in our project. So maybe you can, since you have the API, you can just go in and use the read async and the extra feature that I have added. So type in just netcode and I'll check the packages that I have built. Then in here, we want to look up for clipboard. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Oh, okay, that is it, the last one. And I think I'm having 955 downloads as I speak. Maybe you're going to add yours to this, making it more than this. All right, so I have 8.0 and I have 9.0. Here's a 9.0, so let's go for 9.0. We don't want to have any issue with it. Okay, so whilst we have this set, maybe we can go ahead and check all the packages that we have built from this. We have installed EF Core, SQLite, Tools, and Clipboard. That's great. Now let's go and rebuild our project to make sure everything is intact. Now after we are done, you see that here we have succeeded. So we go back and download the template. So as you can see, free-css.com. We have free-css template pages. There's a page of 294. That is a HiVac, and that is a name, and that is the name of this. Okay, so try to get this and check the video description. Okay, and click on the link. So I have downloaded it already, but you can click on this and it's going to get downloaded. It's quite simple, just a click and you're going to have it. Okay, so once you have this, let's see if I refresh this, I can click on it. Yeah, so you can see downloaded, and I'm going to open that in a Sublime. So when you open it in Sublime, I'm going to have access to this one. Yeah, so that is a template, and that is the folders that we do have in it. And I think these are the files. We have, I think, 4 files here. These are the HTML files. We are not actually focused on any of them except the index.html. So this is what we need. Okay, now in that we have the CSS references and we have the JS file. So that's what you're going to be adding. Now when you check it and open this again, you can see that we are having a Google font. So we're going to grab that and add it. We're having a Bootstrap. So we're having the Bootstrap, and we're also having a Bootstrap. I think we are having our own Bootstrap when you create a project. So we want to make sure we have the same thing from the template. So we know we have a lot of versions, and every version comes with some modifications. So you want to make sure the version that we have here suits what we have in that source code of the template. Okay, so we do not have any issue by integrating that in it. And then we have font awesome over here. Then we have style.css and our responsive.css. So with this, you can see from here we have another one that is a nice select.min.css, and with this is coming from jQuery. So this, if you want to run this online, well, you need to use this link. But if in case you want to work offline, it means you need to grab this and install that manually, right? So let's see how we can work with that. Let's go to, so grab this, grab all this here. Now let's go and do that. So in our project, go to solution, and in www folder, we want to install that. So client side library, click on that, and here choose, is it? Oh, which one are you going to type? Choose, I think it should be nice. This nice is coming from jQuery nice select. You see that? So that is this one. Make sure it has both the JS and the CSS, and all these are needed here. So make sure you have them restored, as you can see from this. Now go to the app, that is from a component app.razor, and that is where we're going to paste what we have in there. So with this, it has the CSS, so drag the CSS and now paste it here, and also paste the one that you have copied. Now, since we are having a default Bootstrap in here, we don't want to use this, so let's make sure we comment this so we can maintain the default one. Well, you can decide to update the Bootstrap to get that in the latest version of 5 point, I've forgotten, but you can actually add that, or maintain the default and you are free. Okay, so let me also grab mine in there and make sure I do the same thing as what you have done. So from this, I think I have from the Bootstrap section, from the head outlets, I can paste it here. So we're having a Bootstrap from our link. We're having the font awesome. Then this is a jQuery nice select, and it is coming from this jQuery CSS, and now the file name here with the extension. And now we're having our style.css and responsive.css. All these are coming from the template, and I believe you've done that. Great. That is the font that we have in here. Good. Now we need to also add CSS. No, the CSS is JS, right? So go to the bottom, and here we have the CSS. So we're going to grab that. We're going to exclude this because we have already added the jQuery. So we're going to drag the JS and add it. So grab these, and that. You get it? Good. So grab that and let's also do it and paste it here. So we have a jQuery, we have a bootstrap.js, and we have this. I think from a jQuery in our bootstrap, I think, okay. This is a jQuery over there, and we have the JS file that we have installed, and we have a custom.js, which is coming from the file. So by doing this, you have been able to integrate or even included the link or the references. Good. So now that we are good, the next thing we can do here is let's go and build this project, and we're going to run this project. And when we run this project, let's go to the developer tool and check if we have all these packages or all these JS and CSS files being referenced and downloaded in our browser, and then we can say that yes, we can move on with this because we need these files before we can work with this. Don't worry about this. Right click and go to inspect elements, and from our this application tab, click on it again. Now come here, check the frames. You see from here we have the CSS and JS. These are images. Don't worry, go to a CSS. We have this CSS from a default one. That's good. We have a bootstrap, and from bootstrap nothing is showing. You see that? Nothing is showing. When you check the font awesome, the same thing. But from our main CSS for our nice select jQuery, that's fine. Responsive, we do not. And our style, we do not. Do you know the reason why? Let's go back again and check it up. From our www folder, we do not have this. So we need to go to the file section or the folder of the template that we have installed, or we have downloaded this template, and I'll grab the CSS, grab the font, grab the images, and then grab the JS, and I'll paste it in here. So do that. So if you are planning to follow what I'm doing, do follow. It is the same thing as you can see as I showed you. So here, let's paste it. There are some images here that we are not using. Actually, we are using one image, but there's not the time for us to streamline this and remove some of them. You want to maintain, you can do that your own, and I trust you can do that. Okay, so once you have this, we can go again and run this and check it out. Okay, so now again, right click, go to inspect, and we must have that. From the CSS, now we have our style, responsive, nice select, font awesome, CSS, yeah, we have this. Now let's go to the font. We have this font, and amazing. Go to the images, we have them there, and I want to check the JS files. We have bootstrap, good. We have custom, fine. jQuery, amazing. And we have the last one of jQuery, nice select, great. So you can see that all files, both for CSS and our JS, are well included or downloaded to our browser. So we have them. What is the next thing to do? Let's go and integrate it. Now, all that I want to do here, when integrating template takes a lot of time. But we are not going to do much here. We want to grab only the index. Now with the index, because it has a lot of sections, you don't want to, because when you run the section, when you run this full, I hope you've run that and you've seen all this. It has a lot over here, and all this, they are not actually important to us. Maybe you can decide to add a footer and the whole stuff. That is, you can do that. Okay, you can upgrade this, add more features. But to make this simple and focus on what you want to do, you want to grab only from this side to this side, and the last part here, I want to grab this line. So check it out. From here, we can grab something on top. We are done with this. So when you check this, because we have this hero area, and that is where we want to grab it. This is the category section, and this section here is talking about our web design. That is the background here. The next line which has this red, yes, this indicators. So it means you want to grab above. Now, so it means you need to grab this. So make sure you minimize this and then grab this one. Now in the home page, we want to go to the pages and our home page, and in here, let's paste it. Don't worry. Let's go back again. Oh, not this one. Here, and the last part is we want to grab this footer. So when you go, the last part, there's a footer. So we want to grab this, and we are done. That's what we need here. Okay. So there's a footer, and now drop it here. Okay. Now with this, it's time for us to do some modifications here and there, and I'll grab this. So let's start with this. First thing first, let's go to our layout, and with our layout, we want to grab. Actually, we can grab, and I use the body. You want this to cover the entire page, so we want to clear everything from there, and I'll use this body. Now that we are good, let's go back again to the home page. And now within the home page, we need to build our C# classes and also the method first before maybe we can go on integrating this UI. So let's see how to do that. Let's create our repos, our services, our helpers, and we integrate all these. And after they are all made solid, we come back again. So let's do that. Let's first create a folder in our solution, and I'll name this as models. Now in our models, we need to create a model that's what we're going to be using, and I'm going to call that URL mapping. Now in that mapping, I need 4 properties here. These are the properties that I will need. I need the ID, I need original URL, I need a short code which is going to represent this original URL. And maybe created at, you can add that to it. Okay, you can decide to remove this, and I'll make this as nullable. Maybe you can maintain this as well. And here you want to make sure that we automatically assign date as soon as we create it. Okay, so once you have this model, let's go and create our repo. This repo here is going to connect with our database. But before we do that, we cannot do that without our DB context. So let's create a DB context first. And we need to create a folder again. I'm going to name it as data. Now this data, let's create a DB context, which is going to be a class. So we can name it as @DB context. Now, since we have installed EF-Core and SQLite packages, we don't have any issue working with this DB context. So let's wait. Once you have this, this should inherit from my DB context class, which is coming from the EF-Core. And aside from that, we can also use the primary constructor. So we don't need to create constructor directly again. We can use this DB context option. So maybe let's see where this is coming from. So DB context options, and then we need to specify our app DB context. And then let's pass this option to the DB context. So once you're done with this, let's go and create our DB set. So DB set, which is for our URL mapping. Then we're going to say that the table name here is URL mapping. And to get rid of this now, we can use set. Then let's pass in the same model and then close it up. Okay, let's go and build our go to our app settings, create a connection string. Now, if you're using SQL Server, maybe that's where you're going to do that. Okay, but for SQLite, let's say this is SQLite. For this light, I'm going to say server. My server here is equal to local. So in case, you can also use dot to reference to the local, or use your server name. Then you're gonna have oh no, for the SQL, this for SQL Server. So if you're using SQL Server, this is what you're going to be using for your connection string. Okay, you can specify a database name as maybe URL mapping. Let's say that can be your database name. Then what again? You can also specify trusted connection to true. The last part here is trust server certificate. Set this to true as well. That's for using SQL Server. But for SQLite, and if you want to use an SQL Server, it means that you do not need to download SQLite. You need to install the package of SQL Server. Take note. And the next one here is we need to use, let's use SQLite. For SQLite, simplifying or specifying your connection string is quite simple. All that you need here is data source. And let's say this is URL mapping .db, and that is all. Now, once you have this, grab this, save it. Let's go to our program file and register a database connection. So from here, we're going to say builder.services.addDB context. Specify your app.db context. It takes an option, and now with this option, we're going to say that this option dot use SQLite. I think this option dot use SQLite. And now let's pass in builder.configuration dot get connection, I think strings, and let's paste in the name of the connection that we specified. Okay, so that is what we need to close it. I don't know why I'm having this. Let me close it and open it again. So use SQLite. I need to use the reference, get connection string. I think I'm using configuration and the SQLite. So that this should match. You can just go in here and make sure you copy this and now paste it here, so you don't have any issues with that. Okay. So once you're done with this, we can let me remove unnecessary usings. It's quite important to streamline your code. And let's go and build project so we can add migration, because we are done with the requirement for adding migration. So we want to do that step by step. You can see that it is done. So add migration. The name I'm giving here is first. You can change this. So it is going to build it. We built it already, and you can see from here we are having the table created with these columns. Let's update it. You can see that this is done, so I can just go in like this. This is our table database, so I'm going to click on open container folder, and from here right click on this and open with DB browser for SQLite. If you don't have this package or this application installed, go to the internet and I'll get that installed. Okay, it's for free, so you can just install that. Okay, so you can see from the table we have ID, original, shortcode, and created at no record. It's good, we understand. So let's move on. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we need to create a repo to handle this. So let's go to solution, and I'm going to create a folder, name it as repository. Now with this repository, I'm going to create a URL repository, which is going to be an interface. So add item, And now with this, choose an interface, URL, repository. So here we need, I think, 3 URL mapping and get mapping. We need to specify the short code. Okay, so this is the parameter they're going to provide. So get URL mapping by shortcode. So by shortcode async. So we're going to get URL mapping by shortcode. Then we want to also get the same thing, this one by not shortcode. Get, we want to specify by original URL. So here we're going to say original URL. So instead of passing in the shortcode, you want to pass in the original URL, the lengthy one. And lastly, we want to save that. We're going to be a task. We're going to say save mapping, and let's specify the URL mapping and mapping. So these are the interfaces that we need. Let's go implement it. So public class, and I'm going to say URL repository, which inherit from this URL. We need to implement the interface. Now we have this already created, so no worry. Go and add or integrate this app.db context. So now that we have this context added, for when you go to with get mapping, we can just return await. Okay, so there's an await context that we have in here dot URL mapping. We can get the first or default. I think this should be an async, so we need to include EF core. Then we can specify that it should meet with the shortcode that we have, because this we want to get it by, okay, this is by original, right? So original URL is equal to this original that we have in there. Okay, now this should be an async. Okay, now here I think there's an issue. Why? What is it saying? So cannot convert. Yeah, that should be equal to. Then I think let's grab the same thing from here and by shortcode. So instead of this, we can say that this dot shortcode equal to the shortcode, and that's great. That's what we want. Now let's make this as an async. Great. And next thing that we're going to do here is we need to add. So this is also quite simple. We just have to specify our context.url mapping.add. Then we're going to add this mapping. After that, await, then context.save changes. Use an async. And that is all. We can return, or we can leave it like that. So once you are good, we can, okay, let's move it to a different file. So move this to a different file. Now, in order for us not to forget it, let's go and register that quickly. So in the program.cs file, we need to go and register that here using scope service and taking the interface and attach it to the implementation. Okay, so we are good with this. Now we need to create our service, but before we create our service, we need helper. The helper is going to actually help the service, as the name implies. It's a helper. I'm going to create another folder for organization purpose. URL helper. And in this, maybe in case later on, if you want to test it using unit test, I want to make it possible. So let's also create an interface implementation for this. Okay. And now with this helper, what do we actually need here? I'm going to say this is our URL helper. Now this helper also going to return, this is construct URL. That's the responsibility of this. It takes in the short code and you're going to do it. The next also going to return same string, and that is generate short code, and this takes nothing. The next one here is going to check, is it valid URL that the user has provided? So what this means, you need to specify the URL. That is the long URL. Okay, so this is the interface that we need. Let's create our implementation, and the class should be URL helper. This should inherit from URL helper. That's the interface. Let's implement these three interfaces, and in order for us to construct this URL, we're going to be using, or we will be needing the scheme and the request path. How do we get it? From HTTP context accessor. You know, since I'm working with the interactive server, we can have this work. Let's inject it using primary constructor. Now from this construct, we need to get a request. This is request, not response. After you have this request, let's grab the base URL. And we can use this string interpolator, and let's specify our request here. We can have the scheme. Then we're going to say that our requests.host. Okay, so we need an HTTPS or HTTP, and now we have our host. Could be localhost, it could be this.com. You know, you see that thing? That is what you want to do. After that, you want to return. So return, since you have this base URL, we want to return slash, now the shortcode. Okay, so that's the way to construct our URL. Now the next thing to do here is you need to generate our code. How do you do that? You want to generate 8-digit code. Okay, so let's first, or we can even go straight and I'll return this. We want to make it as a guild dot create a new guild, then toString, and in that you want to grab 8. That is it. One line of code, but it's going to do a massive work. The next thing to do here is you want to check if it is valid. But first of all, to check it, you want to make sure that if string is null or empty, then you want to return. So that is this URL. What we're going to do, return false as usual. Else, they want to return URI.try create, and here we're going to verify the structure. Okay, so this method is going to return true or false, so we want to use this to verify. Now let's pass in our URL that is coming in. Let's specify the kind. So URL kind dot absolute. Then let's create an add variable to handle that. And aside from that, we want to check if URI is not equal to null. Yeah, because we checked that already, so we don't need to do that anymore. We can also go ahead and now check if URI result that we have, or this URI dot scheme, is equal to the normal URI scheme dot HTTP or HTTPS, because that is when we want to make it work. We're going to be handling the HTTP and HTTPS. So this is going to return that true or false. Okay, so these are the helper methods that we need to assist our service to work. Now that we are done, you know, in order not for us to forget it when running this, Let me first put this in a different file, and the next thing is go to the program and scoop the service. So without the services.add scope, then let's specify the interface, and now with the implementation that we have created. So we are creating a bond between these two. Let's make sure we include the namespace, and we are good. Now is the time for us to create the boss, that is a service who is going to orchestrate all this. Let's have a look with that. So let's first create a folder here, and I'm going to say there's services. Whoa, the service, the S is double. You see that? I believe you made yours 1, isn't it? Now let's say our URL service. We need to create an interface as usual. So our URL service. Now with this service, we need actually 2 interfaces. They are all tasks. They are going to return string. We can make this as nullable. Also, let's say this is shortened URL. Let's make an asynchronous. And now let's pass in this original URL. Now the next one is the same task, which returns string, and that is get. Oh, not oru, is original. So that is an original URL async. Let's pass in the same. This is short URL. These are the only 2 interfaces that we will be using or needing in our service, because we have the others created or specified in the helper and in the repo already. So we're just going to call all these and make sure we manipulate them how we want it in the service. Let's go and do the right thing. Create the app service, URL service, which will then inherit from this our URL service. I know what's going on. We need to implement the interface. And now since we have this interface implemented, oh yes, we need to go in and inject the helper and also the repo. You see that? You want to manipulate them here. So URL repo. That's the last one. This, right? And I'll say this is URL repository. We need to also use the URL helper. URL helper. Okay. We have raised, we have scooped the service of each, so we don't have any issue using them here. Now with this, for this get, all that we're going to be doing here is we're going to check first. So we're going to be checking from this URL repo. So here we need to get it from, is it original? We need to get the short code. So this one, because we have short URL, so we need to get it. Now when we get it over here, what are we doing? You know, this is going to be called anytime the user, after the user has the shortened URL and wants to access the original site. We need to also catch the request and now go to the database, make a search, and now redirect it straight to that link for the user. So we're going to be like a middleman, okay, between the endpoint of the user and the link. We're going to be in the middle so we can manipulate it in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay, so we get from the database in here. So in case the user has already shortened the link, you want to redirect it. So we're going to say that return check is equal to null. If yes, then can we return null? Because by then we wouldn't have gotten any intangible information for that user. This should be a question mark, not an exclamation. So else, what are we going to do? We want to say check dot original. So in case it does found, then currently return the original link. So return, submit the shortcode, and I'll get the original link. That is what we're doing here. Now from this short thing, that is where the magic comes in. We first need to validate the URL because we have the helper to assist us validate it. So we say validate URL equal to, then we can use this URL helper dot is valid, passing this original. We're gonna say in case it is false, so validate, then you know what we're gonna do, right? You want to return null. But in case it works, what's the next thing to do? Let's make some check the map and see whether we do have the data already, because you don't want to shorten this link and the next time the person submit the same link, we also shorten it again and now save it. We want to exclude all duplicates. We want to make sure that one link, one shortcode, one link, one shortcode, and that shortcode can be used by multiple people because we are not linked to a specific user ID. Maybe in case you have in mind to add authentication, that is why maybe you can strict this, that what link that I have provided, I am only obliged to use that. But for now, you want to make it as general so you can submit it. And if it works, if I go there with the same link, I'm going to have the same code and it's going to work. Okay, it's a generalized one that we're doing. So we're checking map here. Now we're saying this, await. Let's use the URL repo. And in here, we want to get map by original URL. Okay, so repo dot get map by original URL. And I'll specify this original URL here. We can go up and check if check map is equal to null. That is where you want to save it. It means this is fresh. Then kindly get the short code. And we can get that from the URL helper dot generate the short code. After we are done generating, let's populate our model. Maybe you can use AutoMapper or Mapstar to map it. But this is a very simple one. So manually mapping is what I love most because it gives me the opportunity to manipulate my own models. Okay, so I have it as mapping. Then I'm going to say this equal to new URI mapping. Then within that, you can have this original URL, which is equal to this original URL. Aside from that, we have the short, which is equal to the short. They to be assigned automatically, so there's no need for us to do it. Now URL mapping, we can include the models. Then once you're done with this, we need to go and make a save. So I think this should be original, capital, short code, and still you're having an issue. What is that? Okay, that's fine. Let's go and save that. How do we save it? It's quite simple. URL repository.save mapping, and I'll pass in this mapping. That is all. After we are done with that, you want to return this URL helper dot construct. You know, we are having this construct, and now with the construct, we need to pass in the shortcode. So now that we have this, you can go in for check map dot then shortcode. We got it. You see, so we are rest assured that this ain't binary. So let's make sure we force it. But in case it is found already, there's no need to go through this process. Kindly go in there and I'll return URL helper already dot construct, and I'll pass in check map dot shortcode. It's quite simple. Okay, so here. Okay, so we don't need to check passing this check map. We need to check here this mapping or the short code. We can either use this mapping or the short code. Okay, so here let's move it. When you use this, it's going to be null, and we're going to have an issue with that. So you need to make sure you understand it well before you can pass it on in there. Okay, that is what we need for our service. Let me also move this separate file. Where is it? That is this one. Okay, then I'm going to grab this. You know, there's the last one that we need to register. So from here, let's scope this. We also need to add, because we have added, so services dot services dot add HTTP context accessor, because we have injected this and we need to add it. Good. So now that we are good and everything is working, although we haven't run it, but trust me, it's fine. The next thing that we're going to be doing is also quite simple. Let's go to our program here, the same place. Let's create a minimal API so we can accept a request as soon as the user copies the shortened link and I'll try to access it. Let's intercept it, get it, and I redirect it. Okay, so we can use map.mapGet. Now we don't want to specify anything to let the user know that, hey, you are calling an API. Okay, you want to disguise it. So we are not providing any link at all here. All that we're doing here is we need a parameter, and that's going to be the short code. That's what we're going to extract from the address. Then when we do that, we can say that this is the short code. Then we need to also inject our URL service. What is it? URL service. Okay, then in that we're going to work within. I think this should be an async. Then let's close this. So here, let's get the results, and we can get it from the URL service. URL service. Now this service, we can get access to this one I'm talking about. URL service dot. Then you can see that here we want to get original and pass in the short code. So after we have the short code, let's go and check, because this could return now, right? So we need to return results is equal to string.empty. We're going to ask this question. Is it equal to string.empty? If yes, then can we return result dot maybe not found, something like that. Else, then return results dot, then go in here and I redirect. What I'm going to redirect this result, because this is going to return string. That is the original link, and we are good. That's all that we need to do. Let's make sure we enforce this, because we know that, hey, this is going to get you what we need. Okay, now let's go back. We are working only in the home component. No other components is going to be affected. Okay, we are working it only in the home component. After doing the main layout, let's go to the main component again, and in here let's go on top from home component. Let's inject our service URL service. Let's make sure we include the using statement, and aside from that, we're going to be clicking buttons here. So I think it's good that we make this as interactive, else we are doomed. So inject okay, let's inject our iClearbot service. This is from the package that we installed. I did not create any service for this. It is coming from the package that we installed. That's the package that I created. So that's the Clearbot service, and this is coming from Netcode-Hub. It should come from Netcode-Hub packages. Okay, yes, we have it. The last part, let's specify the render mode at interactive server. Good. These are the things that we need here to make this work. Okay. Now from this, I'm going to make this as URL shortener. Okay, so this is already defined, it's default, so I believe you have the same thing as I'm having. If you're not having this, then kindly go back and grab it because I haven't touched it. Okay, so here too, you're going to maintain it as I told you earlier on. Maybe I can change this to contact. You can also do same. Then when we come here, we have sign up and login. Yeah, not adding the authentications. We are not much focused on that. Now, when it comes to this, that is information, and within the information, I think I am adding this. I want to tell you that, yeah, this application was built by using Blazor Interactive 9 server, and it gets you the takes in a long URL, validate it, generate a unique shortcode, append it to the server domain to create a shortened shareable link. That's amazing. That's nice description. And in here, I'm going to say that, hey, easily shorten your lengthy link. That's going to be my title. Easily shorten your lengthy link. Okay. Now, when you come here, if you check this, we're going to removing all this from here. Now, from this form, if we are having column LG3, so we're having 3, making 9 over here, and we're having 3 making 12. So all these, you want to grab them. So from this form, remove this form from here. And now within that, we are adding the modified one. Let me paste it here. So we go through. This is the same form. You see that? The same form here. Now I'm creating a div with the same form row. Now within this, see what I'm doing. I am having an input, first input, having this bind. I'm going to create a long URL that's going to be a variable as long URL, and our placeholder here is going to be long URL. Then, which is column LD5, meaning we have, I think, 7 left. The next thing that we are doing is I'm creating 4, making 9. And now within that 4 is the same input type of text, but I am adding some style in here. So I have a CSS class as txt box. I am disabling this, and I'm adding this style to have this border radius from the bottom right and also the top right. It's actually some CSS style, okay, making it actually nicer. So you can decide to skip that and it's still going to work. Then we have a placeholder here, and we have our value. It means you need to create a variable known as value, right? We have our span. Now this span, I have, this is going to be a boolean to check in case it is true. Do this. In case it is false, do that. What is it doing? It is just a copying test. So when you check here, it's copy test from a font awesome copy. I have a color that's info. Then if you hover the mouse on, it should be pointer. This, if I click on this, this button is going to get called, or this function. Now this has no button function, so it's just going to display message. I have the FAFA checked, as you can see, as a mark. Then I have the text as copied. So we're going to toggle between these. Then check the next one from here. That's the last LG3. So we having 5, 4, making 9. We having 3, making 12, exactly for the row. And that's going to be the button for shorten URL. If we click on this, it means it's going to work. Taking this long URL, pass on to the service, and I return a successful shortened URL. That's what I did. The rest is the same. So you know to go through because it was, we copied this and I pasted that. Okay, so for this, for freelancer and stuff, we don't need this. So let's remove all this in it. Okay, and you know, since I'm the one who modified that, I don't want to maintain this. I can also change this. Netcode-Hub URL shortener. That's the name of my app. You can also change this. Great. Now, we need to specify some styles. I think I have them prepared beforehand, so I'm going to grab them. It's quite simple, so you can pause the video and I'll put them in. It's quite simple. So from the copy, you want to make sure we have some radius at the corner edges and stuff, making it nicer and also more appealing. And we have the same thing from this text box. So the copy here is for this copy from the class of copy, which is going to be the text span, because it is a copy. And now for the TST box is for this input, which is disabled and is going to display the shortened URL. Now let's look at the code section. We need to create copy. Let's set this to false initially. Let's have a value which is equal to string.empty default. Let's have a long URL which is equal to string.empty by default. If I click on the copy button, that is copy btn clicked, what are we going to do? I want to check if value dot equals to this, because we're going to provide this invalid URL provided. I want to hard code it and check, because this is not going to be changed even when I build this application for production. It's going to maintain same. You see that? Or I want to check it over here, string.empty is null or empty, that is its value. Then in case this is equal to this and it is null, then I want to have this value, I want to display in the text box, nothing to copy. So nothing to be copied. And aside from that, I want to have copied is equal to false. It means I'm not going to allow you to copy and then kill it short, return. Else, then let's call this clipboard service. You know, it has a lot of APIs. You want to use copy async, you can just go through the rest. Copy async, and I'll pass in this value. You want to copy this to clipboard. After that, copy it. You know, this is going to be true, isn't it? The last method that we're going to do, that is the heart of this component. It's a task. So that is shorten URL btn clicked. So in case this is clicked, what are we going to do? And now take note that this matches with the name that we specified here. Okay, so don't change that, because you can change this and change that, but don't change this and maintain this, else you know we're going to have issue. Okay, so here let's first make sure we have the value set to string.empty. We're going to reset, or before anytime that we click on this, reset this, set copy to false, reset that, and we're going to check in case string.is null or empty. For our long URL, then we want to return. Else we want to get this short code, and this short code is equal to, we have an await URL service dot, you see we are having this method shorten URL async. It takes in original, so pass in this long URL. You see? So we pass in our long URL. And aside from that, this is going to return a string or short code. Now maybe we can make sure this not be null, or we can make sure this over here. Then I think, oh, it is saying this could be not right. Let's wait and see. Then we're gonna check is string.is null or empty. That is a short code that we have received. Then within the same thing, we say value is equal to invalid URL provided, and that is where we're going to check. So in case you do not provide correct URL and it checks, validates, and it could not, going to return an issue or null. And in case it is null, it means there's something wrong with your link, and therefore show this. After that, kill it. Else this value is equal to the short code. And that is all. Save this. Now let's build the application. So it is built. Now let's go ahead and give it a run. And let's check the output. But you can see that here we're having an issue. You check that? You're saying that there's no service reset for the package that we installed, of course. Unless did we forget to install that, or in our program.cs file we did not? So let's do that. So without services, then with this, add Netcode-Hub clipboard service. I think this should come from Netcode-Hub package. Okay, I think this should be solved now. Oh, amazing. So we have it, you see. Now with this, let's make sure we have our database open. Now let's try to get a link from here. So maybe, yeah, we having this link from the Microsoft artifact registry, whatever. Yeah, not actually much concern with this. Let's grab this link. Okay, now this link, let's say it's too long. We want to shorten this. Let's pass this here. Now let's go and put a breakpoint in our code. So from our service, that is what's going to orchestrate all. So we are much interested in checking or diagnosing the service than any. Now this, oh no, that's this is our service. So shortened, click this. Let's go back and continue with it. So if I click on this, check it out. Now I haven't passed anything. There's nothing here. So if I click on this, nothing to be copied, right? Now let's say this, I cut this and I pass in something like this. And I click on shorten. Let's see. So breakpoint is hit, of course. Now it's going to validate it. Check it out. What's the validation here? It is false. So continue on and check what's going to happen. Invalid URL provided. Okay, so now that's cool. Let's pass on this. Shortened. Let's go. Breakpoint is hit. Let's step out. Okay, now let's check it out. Oh, that's true. Amazing. Continue on. Now check it from here. We check it up and we see that, hey, it is null. It hasn't been added before. So click on next. We get a short code. Let's check it out. There's a short code, 8 digits. And now we create a model out of it. We pass on to the repo and now we save it. After that, we construct it and we return it. Check it out from here. This is our URL. That's great. 7066. Okay, but there's a problem here. You see that? We forgot to have this for a slash. So our ports and the code are together. Oh, so bad. So let's go and update that. But this will not affect the code. When you check the database, We have the code over here. Refresh this, and you can see that is a short code, so it is not affected, and that is the original one. So let's go and make sure we go to our, do you know where we need to solve this? Oh yeah, amazing. I hope you said, yeah, the helper. And that's great. That's a helper, because that's where we're going to construct the URL. Go to the service, solution, helper, go to the service, and in here, you know, base, before this must, not the first, only single one. Okay. So now let's run this again. Bear in mind that we still have our link. So we're going to copy this link. Now, since we already have it in the database, we are not going to get it saved again. It's rather going to check and return. Let's wait for this app to get run. Okay, so we copy the same link, we paste it on, and now click on shorten. Breakpoint is now hit again, and we check it up. Now let's see. It must be found because it is there. What do you think? Oh yeah, we got it. You see, so in case you can see we have it and we have the code, so do not go again and now save it. No, we don't want to duplicate it. Now skip it and come here and check it out. Continue on. Now we have this. If I click on this, see what happens. Copy it. Now I've copied. Let's go to our source code here. Go to the program, and now put breakpoint at the endpoint, which is the receiver. Now let's go to our end again. Create a new tab, and I'm going to right click, and I'll paste and go. So this is why I copy it. Paste and go. And now this point is hit. This is the code. Check it out. Next, making a search. Get the original one. You see this? In case we get it, go and redirect to that endpoint. And I'll continue on. And I'll wait and see. So this is working, isn't it? Yes, so that's great. We are good. We're able to pick the code and then go to the database, make a switch, and now able to redirect that to the endpoint, the original endpoint that we have. So we have been able to create our URL shortener app using Blazor Interactive Server. I believe you and I enjoyed this together. If you learned something as well, if you did so, then do not forget, it's very important to like this video. If you haven't subscribed, I think you are missing so much. Subscribe, and also don't go away with that. Click on that notification bell so you can receive updates every time, everywhere, as soon as I do upload new content. If you have any issue with this, put it in the comment below. I hope you've learned something here. And that is it. Thank you. I'm going to catch up again with the next engaging video as this. Till then, take care.